There you go. And the very topic that Anthony Scali and every other business manager is grappling with right now is just how high interest rates will go. And then what damage will those rate rises do to the economy? Well, getting those answers right or wrong, as you can see there, is going to make the difference for many households and certainly many businesses as well. Independent economist and a consultant for the small business lender, Judo Bank, Warren Hogan joins me now. Warren, it's pretty clear, to me at least anyway, I think to you as well, that Australia seems to be lagging the United States on this inflationary cycle. So is there anything really right now that the Reserve Bank here, making its decision tomorrow, can learn from America and its US Federal Reserve?
Well, I think they can learn a lot. First of all, the resilience of the US economy, which we saw on display on Friday night with those payrolls for Germany, for January, I should say, which increased 517,000.
So we're looking at the chart here. Now, this seems to go against the grain. In other words, you've got more jobs coming up in the United States at a time when high interest rates and inflation should technically be actually reducing the number of jobs.
And we had a trend in place. The payrolls were softening. It was a slowdown. Wasn't a recession. Economy wasn't falling off a cliff. Look, we always need to take 1 month with a grain of salt, but these were really strong. 517 versus 188 expected.
OK, so that spooked the markets, didn't it?
Yeah, it very much spooked the markets on Friday night, and that's because it's worried that the Fed's going to have to keep hiking, that economy is going to be stronger, and that it's out of capacity. It's going to generate inflation. Not this Goldilocks soft landing, inflation's going to peter out and the Fed can start cutting at the end of the year. And, we know that these numbers are real. Now, you can look at the jobless claims. They are also falling, and that's confirming that the US economy is picking up some momentum into 2023.
So it's odd about this. So let's think about this. Interest rates rising are designed to cool the economy, to take demand out of the economy, but labour shortages persist and the jobless claims are reducing. Now, technically, reducing jobless claims, having more people in work, that's normally great for an economy. But in this case, it's also a sign that interest rates may have to go on to quill that demand.
That certainly means the Fed's got some more hot rate hikes left in them. And, of course, the really big concern here is that rates aren't high enough anywhere. And here in Australia, we're miles behind where other countries are, particularly the Fed. We're at 3.1, the Fed's at 4.75. And the curveball is where we started, 0.
Yes.
Now, we've had a big change in rates, and that's going to have a big effect on the economy. But ultimately, it's the level of interest rates that matter. And when you've got growth of, say, 2% in the US or here, then you've got inflation of 5 or 6%, interest rates of 3, 4 or 5% could be considered low.
Well, I said earlier on about the ASX indicator of interest rates, a 40% chance of a 0.5% rate rise. I noticed that more of the media over the past couple of days has been picking up on that sort of line of thought because the Reserve Bank is so far behind. So one of the lessons is you can't get too far behind. Otherwise, what's happening in the United States could happen here. The economy stays strong regardless of the higher interest rates, which means you've got to keep them going higher.
I think that's right. If we're so far behind the game at 3.1, it seems high for us because we've come from such a low level, but US at 5. If we don't get a wiggle on, there's a chance that in the middle of this year, our economy is running away from us and they have to slam on the brakes.
And if that happens, then you're talking deep recession, not perhaps mild recession or downturn or no recession, and that's your worst case scenario.
Exactly right.
I want to take you to one last thing. There's a chart that you've given us today, which is a comparison of household savings in Australia and the United States. So this is the other lesson that you learn. So that's the non-farm payrolls from the weekend. We'll go actually to the next chart. You can see that rising. And that one is the next one, which is, you talked about really the fact that there's going to be really a difference in the household savings ratio, Australia to the United States.
We're lagging the US. Their household savings rate behaves very much like ours, but in the last 6 months, it's plummeted to the lowest level in 60 years. The buffers that the US consumer built up and households built up in the pandemic are being eaten into, keeping that economy going. Here in Australia, we haven't even started to eat into those buffers. And that's potentially going to keep the Australian economy a lot stronger in 23 than many think.
Very quickly, 0.5%, 0.25% tomorrow.
I'm going for 0.5%.
Yeah, Warren Hogan, always good to chat to you. Many thanks for your time today.